doing more for yourself, and that's some things that help pull me out of it, you know.
At what point, because I'm the clinician here and I get to ask this question because I'm the host, at what point did you engage in formal counseling, if you did, and what was the benefit there? Was it an add-on? Was it a catalyst? Was it worthless? I mean, help share those experiences too, because I know there's a lot of people who just don't want to come into formal, talk therapy because there's all sorts of stigma about it.
For me, I started early in my recovery. And I even went before even addiction took place. My parents felt like I needed some counseling at an early age, so I got it. But to this day, I continue to see a counselor, and I'll go little spurts. I'll go 6 months and then take 4 months off or something like that. But I think counseling is a huge benefit, to be able to go in and discuss things with, I guess you'd call it a neutral party, and for me it's just. I have a lot of I have that negative brain sometimes, and it's a self-doubt, and I just need to know I'm doing the right thing. And it's just nice to be able to run it by, like I said, a neutral party that can either tell you, no, this is not the right path, or because I have that, I don't know where I heard that, but maybe it was an AA or something, but first thought, worst thought.
Oh, yeah.
And so every now and then I just hold on to those thoughts before I get to it, and I'll make a counseling appointment just for that. Just go, I'm having these thoughts and I need some.
That kind of flies in the face of test-taking strategy, right? Like go with your gut instinct.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, but no, it's played a huge role. But that's just one. That's one. There's like a whole my recovery was I hit it from every single angle. And that was through counseling, exercise, and fitness. Going and forgiving myself. All kinds of other, you got to be willing to do wherever it takes to get in recovery and stay in recovery.
A lot of vulnerability.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, yeah, huge. Vulnerability is huge.
Austin, what's your experience with formal therapy?
Now, when I got out of the Marine Corps is when I really started getting involved in therapy and counseling. And initially, I was very, disappointed in the results. Every single person I saw had a different medication that they said would be the answer for it. And looking back, they avoided the biggest issue that I had. I remember going in and saying I have a huge pain pill problem. And I was still able to get pain pills. And it was just, I was shuffled around. So never finding someone I was able to connect with, and I was pushed on the group sessions, and I didn't get a whole lot from it. And I feel I don't think I was ready to really get much from it, but I don't think I was also given the time or the energy from my therapist to actually see what was going on, in the VA. I feel like a lot of the therapists are overwhelmed with their caseload, and they don't have the time to sit there and go and seeing a therapist once a month isn't really going to be very beneficial.
That is highly infrequent for somebody who's in the middle of a struggle. Once a month is probably not enough. But you're right to that point about being overworked and whatnot. That matters. But also philosophy matters too. And a lot of us in our field are not trained to think systemically and to be vulnerable ourselves in front of our clients, so that we can go into those dark places and know that we can help pull people out, because we ourselves are oftentimes wounded healers and we haven't addressed our own baggage. And so we stay surface level, and then clients get frustrated, but they keep coming because, well, I get a little relief, but is it long lasting? No, you're just dealing with the symptoms, not the problem. And so I empathize with that. That's tough.
Yeah, I don't think it was until I got into my 30s when sitting down with a therapist, I actually started having some major effects, and we started addressing some major issues that I never realized I had from early on in my childhood, like my mother leaving and kind of bouncing around through my family. And I have an absolutely amazing, loving family, but I moved around a lot with them, and just little things like that, talking to a therapist who took the time to understand where I was coming from, enlightened me on some issues that I was facing, and it allowed me to look deeper into myself. And Pat brought up, forgiveness and forgiving yourself and everything. But it's also, I was able to forgive my mom. I reached out to my mom and just let her know that I loved her and I forgave her, and things like that. But 30 years is a long time to come to that realization of things that are really holding you back, and I'm still growing from it. But I definitely love the opportunity with a therapist once it really starts hitting those topics.
I like the endorsement. Thank you for endorsing my profession. And I know you a little bit, Austin. I know that you're a deeply spiritual person, Jesus follower. How much of that played a role? Did you have a spiritual following before? Is this a new thing? Did you refine it? And then, Pat, same question. I haven't talked to you about this, but I'm curious about the spiritual aspect of things.
I mean, I came from a family going to church with grandma and everything, but it wasn't fundamental to me. When I was in the Marine Corps, I think I got baptized Catholic when on Easter Sunday when I was in boot camp, and at that point it was just to get away from drill instructors for a little while. But it honestly wasn't until I got into my 30s and I realized that I had a lot missing on the inside, and going to church and sitting down with pastors and realizing that I had a gap that for me only Jesus could fill, and that acceptance and love that I haven't experienced for a lot of my life also just gave me that sense of comfort, and it kind of just expanded my life. And I mean, it just in the years that I've come into my faith, it's put me on a path that I would have never thought I would have been in. So yes, it is new, but it's ultimately changed my life.
Me?
Any spiritualism? Yeah.
There is. So, I mean, I was raised Catholic, went to Catholic school almost my whole life. I no longer consider myself Catholic. I have issues with that. But do I believe in a power greater than myself? Absolutely. Do I go to church? No. I say no. I don't go to the conventional, like what you would think of as church. My church happens usually on a hike or in the mountains, or outdoors, in the wilderness or nature, as you would call it. Do I believe God helped me in my recovery? Absolutely. Do I think He came down here and like walked me through it? No. I think we give away our power too much to. I think God has opened up doors for me and shows me a way. But I think that I put in that hard work, and I had to wake up with myself every day, and I think a lot of people, whether it be in AA or in church, they give away their strength, and I think we're like someone who's in recovery is a strong person. We didn't just decide like one day we're going to change the color of our hair, or like we're going to put on a new wardrobe or something like that. We've decided to change everything about ourselves, everything. And sometimes that is like getting rid of like really good friends or like even family members, moving to a new city, and just staying away from drugs and alcohol. And that takes an incredibly powerful person. And I think we ourselves need to take credit for it, but we also have to be thankful for those doors that were open to us and guided through God or whatever your spiritual belief may be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes complete sense, and I really appreciate that you kind of flirted with that controversial topic of that is present in both the spiritual communities where you're. I guess I'm paraphrasing here, but you're abdicating your own personal responsibility or your own free will, if you will, to choose to act. As well as is present in the 12-step communities where they say, I think it started probably 1935 or so. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic, and it becomes this identity thing. And it's like I tread lightly when I go into that realm because I know that some people really adhere to that philosophy. But as a practitioner, I can't embrace the idea that an inanimate object ever has power over me. I mean, it's just a bottle with some fluid in it. Like I can't, that's absurd.
Well, I think I hear what you're saying, but like I can tell you, like that small bag of meth controlled every decision, every and I think I think maybe I kind of rebel against things that try and control me nowadays, even relationships and girls. Yeah. And because that like it determined like do I get up in the morning, do I go to bed at night, am I going to have a good day or a bad day, or are my emotions going to be level today? Am I going to participate in life today, or am I going to sit in this drug infested hotel room I'm in? I mean, that bag of dope. I hate to say it. I mean, I like to consider myself strong person, but it brought me to my knees back then.
Yeah.
And that's why I look at people that are in recovery, and I'm like, man, some of the strongest people I've ever met in my life, because I know what it's like to break that relationship with a bag of dope, and it's man, words can't even describe what that was like, and finally making that decision to go away and allow my parents and my family to help me and get to rehab was, I mean, it took a lot.
How many times did you guys quit before you actually quit?
For me, it was what, once. I never wanted to quit, and finally, something that they, like they say, that little moment of clarity that probably lasted 30 seconds, and my dad got me at the right time, and he happened to be sitting in a room, and I was like, I'll go to rehab.
Wow.
And he was like, let's go.
And it's stuck. You didn't change your mind on the car ride, and then just lip service yourself.
I did,
oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah, all the way to the because he said, okay, I'll be here on. We're going on Tuesday, and it was like Sunday, and I was like, okay. And he's like, how are we gonna get there? And I'm like, oh, let's fly. And then he showed up, and he's all ready to go to the airport, and I'm like, I'm not flying. And he was just like, what? And I was like, let's drive. And then it just went back and forth. So I mean, yeah, that was the first real attempt, but to get me there, it was my dad wanted to wring my neck.
Yeah,
it was a struggle. It was about a 5-day ordeal of traveling to Southern California to get me into rehab.
And relatives or friends of people who are struggling with this stuff hear that very clearly. That if you're trying to help, keep trying to help.
Oh, don't give up.
Yeah.
No way. And my dad, even over 10 years of meth addiction, he never gave up on me. He wanted to wring my neck half the time, but he never ever gave up on me. And I'm not saying that, do what my dad enabled me a lot. Gave me a house eventually when my dad was actually the mayor of Reno for 12 years, and I was living on the street. And his campaign advisor, political advisor, said, "We got to get your son off the street." So.
It's bad optics, apparently, to
like your meth addicted and high-speed car chases on the streets of Reno. Yeah, I know that. So they did, and he rented me a house and gave me a place to live, and just said, "You're an embarrassment to the family. Just don't come out." And he left me a couch and a bed and an Xbox and a TV, and said, "There you go." And
wow.
Which wasn't a good thing. Was not a good thing, but. My dad is my hero, and without him, I wouldn't be here today. So, and the rest of my family, and not only just the rest of my family, because of my dad being the mayor. Right when I got clean, I was able to. Something came to me, another moment of clarity, and I called my dad, and I was like, "I got a great idea," and he was like, "You haven't had a great idea in like 20 years, so I'm afraid of what you made." And I was like, "I want to share my story in public because I went through meth addiction for 10 years, and if I don't start helping people with it, that big 10 years, and I probably give myself too much credit, but I equate like my 10-year experience is like someone going to medical school.
Yeah.
And they come out and have
Totally.
all this crazy knowledge of the human body and how to save lives and change lives. And instead of going into the field of medicine, they go get a job at 7-Eleven. And they're full of all this information. And so I went through this crazy 10 years of life of living on the streets and meth addiction and mental health issues and addiction issues and being homeless. And I got clean and sober. And I came out and I was like, what do I do with all this? And something said, you got to make those 10 years, give them some kind of purpose, start sharing your story. And I was like, and what better way to do it than through my dad, who's the mayor of the city. And so he said, well, come down and let's talk about it. And I showed up at City Hall the next day, and he was standing at the door laughing. And it speaks volumes about my dad and how much he cared about me and other people. I was like, what's so funny is like, you said you want to share your story, right? And I was like, yep. And he's like, I called a press conference.
Wow.
And I walked into City Hall. It was just a sea of cameras and reporters and my mom and my whole family.
Oh, wow.
And we all, as a family, shared my story, and it changed all of our lives. And it gave me purpose, not just for the future, but it also gave me purpose for those 10 years of addiction, of living that life, and seeing that through my experience, I've been able to help people.
2 questions before I ask Austin how many times he quit. 1, how long after you were clean and sober did you have that press conference? And 2, did you cry?
I cried everything. So, yes, I cried. If you ever come watch any of my public speeches, you'll see that.
So I would cry.
Anytime that my mom and dad will